Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Hillary Cohen. I'm based in Los Angeles, California, which is actually where I was born. And I was born in Los Angeles. I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings. I've always had fur siblings and fur babies. My first cat, Ashley, was my sibling growing up, as well as my parents. But when we were 5, we moved to Connecticut, which is where I really grew up. So I grew up on the East Coast. My dad is a pharmacist and my mom is a nurse practitioner, and they really inspired me to want to lead a life, of helping people, because in the medical profession, that's really what you do, is you help people and you help them become better versions of themselves. However, healthcare was not my journey, and I wasn't really there yet. And I was really interested in the film and television business, and I really wanted to work in some form of entertainment. I wasn't entirely sure what that was at the age of 5, but I knew I wanted to perform. So from 5 all the way through college, I went to Clark University, Massachusetts, and I majored in film and theater. And I did about 30 theater productions. In high school, I directed a short called Attack of the Moral Fuzzies. That was like the first thing I ever directed. But when I got into college, I realized I didn't really enjoy being in front of the camera anymore. It made me quite nervous. And really, it wasn't for me. I enjoyed much more the behind the scenes, the organizing, the logistics, the creation, and elevating other people to be the star. So in college, I made that shift really to be more into film, though I did double major both in film and theater. I graduated in 2007 from Clark University and moved back to California about 4 weeks later to pursue my dreams of film and television. In college, I had a few internships at 20th Century Fox and had come back and forth a little bit. So I had a little bit of a base, and I started working at a modeling agency called New Model Management, which taught me so much about Hollywood and really helped me develop a thick skin. I made some great friends and allies there, but ultimately found out that the modeling world was definitely not where I belonged. And during that time, a movie I had worked on in college called Boy Band got all of its funding. And so they called me and asked me to be the first assistant director of the movie, which is absolutely insane because I had no idea what that was. But the director really wanted me to be in that role. So he had a coworker that was the first AD of The French Connection. And I talked to him for like 3 to 4 hours, and I just wrote down everything that he said. And the first day of production, I literally had a script in front of me that said, like, you're supposed to say, pictures up, quiet on set, rolling, and all these things. And our call sheets were made out of permanent markers. And looking back on it now, it was so strange, but that was my first introduction to the film world, which is a movie that was made for a little under $1 million, which in the film world is a very small budget. And on that film, a lot of people had told me about this assistant director's training program. So when the film was over, I applied And I got in, and that program is a 400-day program that helps you get into the Directors Guild of America. You have on-set training at different shows every 50 days. So I went through this 400 training. I graduated on Mad Men and ended up being an assistant director there until I worked on NCIS LA the following year. I think that was in 2009. And I thought I would work on NCIS LA for about 2 years. And I ended up working for 11 years there, taking the series to its completion. I started as the additional second AD, getting the cast ready for set, and I finished as a producer of the show, managing all of our COVID protocols. So that climb over 11 years was certainly a whole experience in itself. But on a film set, from my very first day, going from this, the small world of filmmaking where your mom made the craft service and catering was, takeout food, to the set of private practice where there was salmon and steak and couscous and whatever you wanted to order for breakfast every day, all day. Like there was just food all the time. And I remember it was like my first day, you're not allowed to be late. So I always went to work 2 hours early and slept in my car because I was so afraid of being late. And I would watch the circus roll in because it's like a circus. It's all these massive trucks. And I would just see them kind of take over. It was magical, but also a little bit disheartening because there is a lot of unhoused that live everywhere that we film. So it just kind of felt like we were taking over their home. And then we would have this great catering truck. And when they're making food all day, it smells like a gourmet restaurant. Everywhere outside smells like garlic and butter, and your mouth is salivating if you're walking nearby. So I can't imagine how hard it would be to be unhoused next to that catering truck and not able to also enjoy the food. And it really bothered me. At the end of the day, we had all this food and I was so excited to go take it to the people on the other side of the fence. And it was just thrown out. And I was told it was too complicated and we would get sued. And because I was 21 years old or 25 years old, at the start of my career, really focused on that, I just said, oh yeah, that makes sense, and continued working 16 to 20 hour days for a decade. And then COVID happened, and everything stopped, and I had gone from running 1,000,000 miles an hour for a decade to stop, and that stop changed my life. I'm not someone who stops well, so I watch Netflix for 3 hours and then had to find something to do. I do so I did what all the crafters out there did. I emptied my craft bin. I became a complete total mask maker. That fast forwarded to these 12-hour sewathons where I made up to 5,000 masks total across, I think, several months, and I shipped them across the United States. I ended up on the cover of the Wall Street Journal and all these things because I was just really trying to show that I could work in the nonprofit space just from my house. And I really wanted to go, I thought, run the Make-A-Wish Foundation. But no one would listen to me in any of those places because running a film set doesn't really translate entirely unless you're on one. So I had a really hard time getting into that space. And while I was sewing, it was a really charged time. I was angry listening to lots of TV and lots of loud sewing for just 14-hour days. And I just wanted to do something that was going to make a difference because I had marched. I went to the very first Women's March, in 2020, not in 2020, in 2016. I felt like I had been trying to make a difference. Running for office wasn't for me and nothing was happening. So I thought about this idea of everyday action. What if when I was angry, when I wanted to respond to someone and say something negative back at them online, what if I put my phone down and I went and did something for someone else instead? And then I did that until I was just no longer angry. And then every day when I woke up, when that anger, that rage came back, I took that rage and I moved it into action. And what if I could get everyone to do that? What if we all, put our phones down, stopped complaining, stopped saying the change that we wanted to see and actually did it on whatever small scale that was. And for me, that was food on a film set because that's where my world was. So when I went back to work, I talked to one of my really dear friends and coworkers, Samantha Liu, who co-founded Everyday Action with me, is a very talented assistant director who has a whole story of her own. But the two of us came together and founded Everyday Action.
Hillary, what an incredible story. It's just amazing what can be done when somebody just changes their mind, right? On how you're going to respond and react to what you're seeing around the world. And focusing on others is a beautiful way of, I guess, distracting your mind from what you're actually going through, but making a difference as well. So can you walk us through what happens from the moment a film set wraps to the delivery of the meals?
Absolutely. So we come in kind of midday when lunch is finished. So every set has a call sheet. Sam and myself have made those for our careers, so we read them really easily. We get the call sheets, and then we know when lunch is going to be finished. We assign a driver to that show. Our drivers are production assistants, background artists, and really anyone in the entertainment business that's currently struggling. We pay them a small stipend. They then go to the caterer with their details. They pick up whatever's been packaged and left over, and then they bring it directly to a beneficiary in need. We go across a 90-mile area of outreach. So wherever a film production travels within Southern California, we travel to. And Sam and I just logistically place our team in the same area. So if there's 4 sets shooting in downtown Los Angeles, one person from our team is going to those 4 sets, not 4 drivers. We take all the sets, all the pickups that we have, and coordinate them together, and then deliver the food as close to the set as possible.
That's just incredible. So what was the biggest challenges that you encountered in setting up your nonprofit?
Well, the first is I knew nothing about running my own business or starting a nonprofit. So legitimately, I had to know what a board was. We had to file bylaws and articles of incorporation. We had to file to become a 501c3, not only with the state of California, but with the government, the IRS. So it was all of this paperwork, all this overwhelming systems that did seem very difficult at first. But once Sam and I just sat down together as a team and tackled it bit by bit, kind of Lego block by Lego block, and that's kind of how it has always been. Nonprofits are put together by people who are just passionate about wanting to do something good in whatever space they're in. And most often, they're not someone with a business degree or someone who even has time to focus on those. So one thing that has been really important for Sam and I is allowing mistakes to happen, saying okay, and figuring out the solution and not panicking through that process, because it is really confusing, especially in California. There's lots of different, roadblocks that could put up, and we can break through those barriers. So it was really just having the courage to fail and keep going, because we didn't do everything right the first time, the second time, the third time, but it's still going to get there. And just making those first steps was really most important.
So how do you select the communities or the individuals who actually receive the food?
Sure. So first it was just Sam and I cold calling literally organizations from Santa Clarita to San Pedro, which is about a 90-mile area of outreach. Anyone that served food, but mainly people that already had a kitchen, because Sam and I and our team deliver food from one kitchen to the other. So it's food safe. So it's within about 45 minutes. It goes right from the end of the catering line, whatever hasn't been served, that's packaged and goes right to another kitchen. So for the food to be as safe as possible, we really focused on facilities that could take our food and store it at the temperature it needed to be at, whether that be hot or cold, instantly. So that was our first layer. Then in COVID, most things were individually packaged. So when they're individually packaged, we could go to encampments, we could go to individuals, we could go to, refrigerators. Now things are back to buffet style. So we have a lot of catering trays. So that really needs to go to a shelter, that needs to go to a place that has the ability to use a large quantity of food, because giving someone in a tent, 17 servings of chicken isn't helpful because they have nowhere to put it. And that's further contributing to waste. So it was really figuring out where we could bring each kind of food. And that's still evolving, because we don't just work with film and TV sets. We work with grocery stores, corporate events, festivals, and more. So it's always seeing what's donated and getting it to the donor as safely as possible. And sometimes, you're just throwing a curveball and it's figuring that out on the fly.
Absolutely incredible. Now, you have a new initiative called Food Insecurity Shared Hub, FISH. Tell us a little bit about what that is all about.
Yeah, FISH is really exciting. So like I said, we've never had a space until now. The Daughters of Charity have a warehouse that is in downtown LA that we've been in for the past 6 or 7 months. It's in collaboration with 4 other nonprofits in Los Angeles, including St. Vincent Meals on Wheels, SELA, the Neighborhood Homeless Coalition, and DePaul, Los Angeles. We're in the process of bringing on one more. And all of us will together work in our own spaces, but also collaborate. So once it's funded, we're going to have a walk-in fridge and freezer that will allow us to take pallet donations. It will also allow us to take food and pause. So to date, for the past 5 years, we're like Grubhub. We go from point A to point B. But
Yes.
what we want to be able to do, because film production on a Friday, sometimes we're picking food up at like 3 or 5 in the morning. The people that are open at 3 or 5 in the morning are very small, as opposed to during the day when there's hundreds of facilities that are open. So we would like to take the food into our FISH warehouse, have it in our freezer, and then the next day open it up, repackage it, and get it out to a better, efficient, our larger beneficiary network, as opposed to who's available. So it will allow everyday action to help more specifically, and then it will allow all of us really to collaborate, because grassroots nonprofits having a brick and mortar space is quite difficult. This way, if something goes wrong, we're kind of all in collaboration and can work together. Hey, this utility bill is high. How can we work together to get this down? Okay, let's find a solar grant. It's not all on one nonprofit. We're coming together to kind of solve both hunger and mutual aid across Los Angeles.
Yeah, and there is power in collaboration when people come together, join forces. A lot of nonprofits are operating in silos. One person's doing this, the other person's doing that. But when you come together, there is real power there.
Absolutely. And we are already distributing food to some of those collaborators in our warehouse. So that's going to make that collaboration so much stronger. We can just put the food on their fridge racks every day, so they have food for their programs and we know they're taken care of. And it will really just increase the number of people we're all able to help.
Amazing. So what's one story from the field that has stayed with you with this work?
Sam and I did this run in Big Bear a very long time ago, but we were told it was at a certain location. It ended up being just so much farther. So we had to stay overnight for several days, and we would drive like 40 minutes back and forth to get the food. And those who are housed in Big Bear, it's cold there. It's not like Los Angeles where the weather is pretty temperate. So they're spread out. There's people in cabins, and one woman, Frances, who was living in a cabin that a nonprofit in Big Bear had put her up in, was there because her dog had bit someone in her apartment, and she was evicted and had been living in her car, and she just was struggling. And we brought her shrimp. And she opened it and she was like, oh my goodness, I've never had a lobster before. This is so amazing. And the food that we're able to provide people is just like on a different level than a lot of other places are able to. And to me, food is such a conversation of not only love, but that's how we have power and nutrition to be our best self. So how can you expect someone to get out of a situation when they don't even have proper nourishment? So it was just like seeing firsthand, the quality of food and the impact that can make on someone's day, and how it instantly like changed her whole demeanor, and knowing that she was going to have food for the next week, that reliance. And we have a lot of stories like that. So it's just the conversation of the healthy food that we're providing. It's really special.
Wow. So how do you recruit and train your drivers and your team members?
Well, our drivers are actually production assistants, background artists, stand-ins, and really anyone in the entertainment business that's struggling to find employment. So we have people that email in all the time looking for daily work. Our program's not fully funded yet, but we are able to pay them a small stipend and a bit for gas. And then they go deliver the food, which is great because they understand a film set. They have all of that knowledge already. We always say, we're not interested in Martin Scorsese. We just want your mashed potatoes, so they're they're there with the same mission that Sam and I have, that Everyday Action has, which is just to save the food, which is to help reduce waste. On a film set, when there is an animal on set, the Humane Society is there. When there's stunts, there's a stunt coordinator. When there's food, there should be someone there to save it, because we have hundreds and thousands of pounds of food, not just in Los Angeles, across the entire United States, that's being thrown out, while we have hundreds and thousands of people that are hungry. So we have the solution to the problem. We just need to be a little bit more logistically aware of what we're doing with our trash. And it's not trash.
Yeah, it's all about distribution. So what impact has your organization had on employment within the marginalized communities?
We are able to employ like 5 to 10 people a year, which is really great for Everyday Action in the small community that we serve. What's a greater number is those we're able to help. So with the meals that would have been tossed, last year we did about 80,000 meals, which equated to 120,000 pounds. And all of that would have been thrown out. That's 120,000 pounds and 80,000 people that received a meal that otherwise wouldn't. So to me, that conversation is really worth listening to, because Sam and I and Everyday Action are picking up from a fraction of places that are throwing out food. And there's tons of other nonprofits in Los Angeles that are also reallocating, and we're working together in a food recovery alliance and really trying to focus on how we support each other, and just like you said, not do the same thing in our own space. Let's come together. Okay, you're picking up food down here. Why is that working for you? What's not working? Let's work together to take your ideas, share your ideas, and then grow that together, so that as a city, we aren't wasting food. We are doing it logistically the way it should be.
Yeah, and there's no competition. You're all working towards the same mission, goal, and vision.
Absolutely. I always say, if there's no more hungry people in America, then that's amazing. Then we have another problem to focus on. So if we can all just come together, we'll be able to solve it faster.
I love it. So how do you define dignity in the work that you do?
I really think it's in the choice. Sam and I and Everyday Action, it's not, here, you have to have this peanut butter jelly sandwich today and take it because this is what we have. We're able to provide options. There's vegan options and salad and different kinds of protein. We're not bringing the same food every day. And to me, being a human, I like to have a choice. And for someone to say, you must do this, that's not very humane. So I think that us being able to have options, it really provides dignity to the people that we're serving. And also just the way that we serve them. Sam and I always say, introduce yourself to the people that you're delivering food to. Ask them how their day was, see how they're going. It's not just a number we're checking. It's a human being that's getting a meal that otherwise wouldn't. And that can be someone's relative that really needed to have someone there today. And so that's really where I want people to think about, is like, people have this fear of helping people, and I'm not quite sure where that comes from. But think about the other person on the side. And at some point in your life, you're going to need someone else's help. And I sure hope that they're there to catch you. So I just think if we all could band together and catch each other more, we would be in a much different place.
Yes. So let's talk about the power of giving for a minute. What changed your life when someone gave to you? The spirit of giving is not in everybody. Some people can walk past the homeless and feel absolutely nothing. What was it in your life that made you the way that you are?
I've always been uncomfortable receiving. I always so much enjoy giving, like a present or a surprise, or if I know, even my husband, this little thing will make his day better. That to me makes my day better. So I don't know if that's just how I'm programmed. I know that my mom and my dad are both, very caring people who always put others first. So it's probably from that example and just who I am as a human. But I always feel more driven and more connected to giving back than to, I don't know, just to going through my daily routine. And when I'm doing that, I'm feeling better. When I'm having a time of not doing so much giving, I don't feel great. So I do think it's part of who you are, but I do want to inspire people to step out of that norm if it's not something that comes to you normally, because once you do, you feel that impact person to person, as my mom says, eyeball to eyeball, it really will change you probably more than it will change them. And maybe it's not helping the unhoused, maybe it's helping veterans, maybe it's helping animals, whatever that thing is, that's your thing, go do it. And don't be afraid of the little things in your head that are standing in your way. It doesn't have to be a mountain either. You can just buy someone a coffee and give it to them. And that's also doing something great for someone today.
Yeah. So what changed your life when you gave to someone else?
I mean, it started this entire process as a grown-up. Our first run of food was in COVID. It was a time where everyone was really alone. Sam and I were wearing like hazmat suits, like in the movie E.T. And it was the very first set filming, and we just were around people who were struggling like us, but living on the street in a tent, under a blanket, on a bench, in a car. And seeing those people shaped like what this became. It shaped like, I just can't go another day without helping people that are starving. We have this, it just doesn't make sense to me. So it's like, in seeing the direct impact and seeing that really is, it's just someone like you or me. There was like one gentleman who had his bike and a laptop and a briefcase, and he was working out of a tent. He just was evicted and had no other choice and was going to work from that tent. So I just think it's opening your eyes and looking someone in the face. And once you do that, it is like an avalanche of need.
Why is giving so important for the future of humanity, do you think?
Because without it, we just simply won't exist. We need to give to the planet. I have never understood a society or a world that is focused on hate or difference, because we're all so much more similar than what draws us apart. And an opinion or a belief certainly shouldn't divide someone to the point of hurting people. So I've never understood like conflict getting to the point of a war. I've never understood people having that much hate. Why, if we all focused all of that into productivity and helping thy neighbor, like very simply, we would be on Mars, we would be on the moon, there wouldn't be global warming, because we would be so busy doing all these productive things. Like, we would be so much farther along, because so much time and resources are spent on draining that. So that's the only way forward, is to collaborate and help and take care of people who need it, because we all need it, no matter what our level.
Yes, that redirection of all this energy that is used so negatively in the world. Wow. So how can people support you? How can people chime in? Where are you needing resources? Tell us how we can be of support to your work.
Well, our board could use some support. We could use some grant writers. So if you're interested in grant writing and would like to donate your talents, please give us an email or click on youreverydayaction.org. We also need volunteers of any kind for events and drivers. In addition, we are always raising funds. Everyday Action is a grassroots nonprofit that is still not fully funded. Sam and I volunteer half of our time and are just starting to get paid part-time after 5 years of working, but is not livable yet in Los Angeles, nor is it for our team. We're really struggling to get to that fully funded area. So if you're interested in donating, or if you're interested in being part of that fundraising team, please reach out, because the more resources we have, the more people will be able to help.
That's beautiful. My last two questions are a bit futuristic.
I like
it. The first one, I'm going to take you back to the younger you, that young woman who went into the world of the film industry, Hollywood, all the glitz and the glamour that we see online. If you could go back and have a conversation with the younger you, especially when you started this organization, and you could go back and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
I think the first thing would be, it is what it is. things are going to happen and you can't change them, and to let that go and to proceed forward is one of the healthiest things I've ever learned. Number 2 is believe in yourself fully every day, because there's a lot of people and places that want to tear you down or question you. And that don't really matter. You have your circle, and if people don't understand you, they're not in it. So listen to that circle and march to that drum in your head, because it's a good one. And I guess 3 would be to trust the community around you and to build a community. Nothing is accomplished by yourself, and the more people you have to support you in that, the stronger you'll be. So focus on building community and places where others can thrive.
Yeah, community is everything. You're right. And I think you're really building a beautiful ecosystem for nonprofits to find a space to work together. That's amazing. Last question. I'm teleporting you into the future this time. And we are going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. She's sitting in her rocking chair. Maybe she's on a dance floor at a charity event somewhere. Who knows? With science and technology, you'll probably live to 120. But if we could teleport into the future and you could go and meet this wise woman who has led you up until this point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her? And I'll tell you why I like to ask this question. A lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us. But she's that quiet voice that tells you to quit your job, start a nonprofit, go left, go right. But we look outside of ourselves for answers and solutions, and we forget to go within. So what are you going to say to this amazing woman who is leading you to the age of 90 to create this amazing vision?
I guess I'd like to say, how'd it go? Did it all work out? Was it all the way you wanted to? Either way, I'm sure that it doesn't really matter, because what's most important is just living life. So I hope you lived it. I hope it was awesome. And I hope you have a lot more to live. Because to me, getting older is a celebration. Not everyone has a privilege to get to be 90. So if I get to be 90, I'm just going to give myself a big old hug and say, congratulations on making it.
I absolutely love it. Hillary, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with our community today. Thank you for your work. Food security is something that is very, very close to my heart. You know, growing up in Africa, seeing people starving, and you're seeing it in a country where there's abundance. And it's just a distribution of that abundance that you've tapped into. Absolutely beautiful to see. Would love to continue following your work, supporting you in any way that we can with the Her Story Circle movement. Thank you.
Thank you. I love meeting you, and I'm just so appreciative. So thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Hillary.
Thank you.
Don't go away. Don't go away. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.